Have you ever felt deeply desired one moment and completely invisible the next? Like you were the center of someone's universe at night, but by morning, it's as if you vanished from their world. That confusion, that emotional roller coaster, it isn't love, it's a setup. Behind that charm, that confident smile, lies something much darker than you might expect. Today, we're uncovering the truth. You're going to learn about 5 sexual secrets that narcissists desperately try to hide. And once you understand them, you'll never look at them the same way again. When shared by 2 caring people, sex can be one of the purest forms of connection. It builds closeness, trust, and emotional safety. But with a narcissist, that same act turns into a psychological battlefield. It's no longer about affection or mutual connection. It becomes a weapon, something cold, planned, and manipulative. Narcissists know very well how powerful sex can be. They understand it can create emotional bonds, flood your body with feel good chemicals, and make you feel safe and attached. But instead of respecting that power, they twist it. They use sex not to bring 2 hearts together, but to tighten their control. Every kiss, every look, every touch comes with hidden intention, not love, but power. In the early days with a narcissist, sex feels intoxicating. It's passionate, consuming, and magnetic. You might feel like you've found the most irresistible connection of your life. But that intensity isn't random. It's part of their design. The narcissist is using sexual energy as a form of love bombing to hook you fast, to create emotional dependency, and to lower your defenses. You start linking their touch to affection, their attention to worth, and their presence to emotional safety. What begins as passion turns into programming, and slowly, almost without noticing, that passion becomes conditional. Sex turns into a form of reward or punishment. It's offered when you comply and withheld when you don't. Over time, you begin to sense a shift. The intimacy no longer feels mutual. It's more like a performance with only one star. If you boost their ego, if you make them feel powerful, they might shower you with affection. But the moment you express your own needs or confront them, they pull away. The warmth disappears. It's a game of give and take, or rather give and take away. They offer closeness when they want control and withdraw it when they want you confused, anxious, and chasing their approval. This is where sex becomes part of the control cycle. Narcissists often use physical intimacy to manipulate your emotions. After an argument, they might initiate sex, not from guilt or care, but to reset the emotional dynamic and regain dominance. It's a way of saying, I decide when we're connected. It confuses your mind, softens your anger, and blurs your memories of the hurt they caused. You begin to doubt yourself. Maybe you did overreact. Maybe they do care. But that's exactly the point. They don't need to apologize if they can make you forget the pain through pleasure. That's how they keep you trapped in emotional confusion. Even more damaging is how they use absence as a weapon. Suddenly, they turn distant. They stop touching you. They withdraw affection without explanation, leaving you to wonder what you did wrong. Then, right when you start to detach, they come back with full intensity, passionate, attentive, irresistible. That push and pull keeps you addicted, always trying to get back the version of them that made you feel alive in the beginning. But that version was never real. It was a mask, a strategy, a carefully rehearsed performance. The emotional high they gave you at first wasn't genuine connection. It was bait. This entire pattern leaves deep scars. It conditions you to link love with pain, passion with fear, and intimacy with anxiety. That's the hidden power of a narcissist's sexual manipulation. It's never about the act itself. It's about how it controls your emotions, They don't crave your heart. They crave ownership of it. And the cruelest part is how they use your natural desire for love and closeness as the leash. Meeting a narcissist often feels like walking into a dream. The way they look at you, speak to you, touch you, it feels electric, like destiny. But that's because it's too perfect to be true. Narcissists are masters of illusion, and their most powerful trick is love bombing. They overwhelm you with attention, flattery, and passion to make you emotionally dependent. It's not real connection, it's calculated control. Beneath the charm, there's no emotional depth, only strategy. During that early stage, they mirror you. They reflect your values, your dreams, your beliefs. So it feels like you've finally met someone who truly gets you. They talk about forever, about fate, about how rare your bond is. They text constantly, crave your time, and tell you you're unlike anyone they've ever met. But none of this comes from real emotion. It's an act meant to bypass your defenses. By creating a whirlwind of intensity, they make you skip the natural process of trust building and fall too deep, too fast. Sex plays a massive role in this illusion. It's passionate, frequent, and feels emotionally charged. They'll say things like, "I've never felt this connected before," or "No one else understands me like you do." But the truth is, this intensity isn't proof of love. It's manipulation. The narcissist uses sex to lock in emotional addiction. The chemicals released during intimacy, oxytocin, dopamine, endorphins, all make you feel attached and euphoric. Your brain links that pleasure to them. And once that bond forms, they know they can control you more easily. When they sense they've secured your loyalty, the change begins. The warmth cools. The effort drops. Messages slow down. Compliments fade. The passion that once seemed endless becomes rare. Where they once celebrated your uniqueness, they start pointing out your flaws. The person who once made you feel special now makes you feel confused and inadequate. When you ask why, they twist it back on you. You're imagining things. You're too emotional. You're overthinking. They gaslight you until you doubt your own memory. And then comes the cruel truth. The person you fell for never really existed. The intense connection you believed in wasn't love. It was a calculated trap. The love bombing phase wasn't an expression of devotion. It was bait to pull you in deep before the mask slipped. By the time you realize what's happening, you're already emotionally caught, questioning yourself, craving the validation they once gave so freely. That initial affection was never real. It was a setup, and the narcissist knew exactly what they were doing. Narcissists don't enter relationships for the same reasons healthy people do. Most people want closeness, understanding, and mutual support. Narcissists want admiration, not love, not validation. They crave constant attention to feed their fragile self-image. Their need for control shapes every part of their relationships, especially sexual and emotional ones. To them, true intimacy is dangerous. Vulnerability is exposure. Being truly seen threatens the perfect mask they wear. Deep down, they're terrified of being ordinary or unworthy, so they avoid real closeness at all costs. Sex with a narcissist might start out feeling consuming, but it's never about shared pleasure. It's a show, one that revolves around them. If they seem attentive, it's often because they want to be praised for being amazing, not because they care about your satisfaction. They feed off admiration. They want to hear how great they are, how irresistible, how unforgettable. The moment that praise stops or the focus shifts to you, their interest fades. Sexual connection, like every other kind of attention, is just another way for them to boost their ego. Once that purpose is met, the act loses meaning. What makes it even more painful is what happens when intimacy threatens to become real. Genuine closeness requires honesty, trust, or an emotional give and take, things narcissists avoid because they can't handle true vulnerability. The moment you reach for emotional depth, they pull away or change the subject. Their mask cracks under real intimacy, so they replace it with control, criticism, or withdrawal. And that's the heartbreaking truth about intimacy with a narcissist. You'll give your heart hoping to build something real, but they'll only take what they need: admiration, validation, and control. To them, love isn't a partnership, it's possession. And until you see that, you'll stay trapped in their cycle, always reaching for the warmth they used to give, never realizing it was only ever a tool. They are often unwilling or simply unable to give. They'll pull back, detach emotionally, or even sabotage the connection. Sometimes they'll mock or downplay moments of vulnerability using sarcasm, silence, or indifference to create emotional distance. When you try to connect on a deeper level, to share your feelings or open up, they might treat it like weakness or make you feel like you're asking for too much. This reaction isn't random. It's a defense mechanism. The narcissist cannot handle emotional exposure, so they devalue it, reject it, belief, or twist the situation to make you feel embarrassed for even wanting closeness. In relationships with narcissists, partners often end up feeling emotionally starved. You might be physically near, but emotionally left out in the cold. You could share the same bed, yet feel no bond. When you try to have real conversations about love, growth, or connection, you're met with blank stares, half-hearted replies, or ridicule. Slowly, this lack of true intimacy becomes confusing. You start to wonder why someone who once seemed completely obsessed with you has turned so distant. You begin to question yourself. Maybe you're too emotional, too needy, or expecting too much. But the truth isn't that you're asking for too much. It's that they never planned to give it in the first place. To a narcissist, relationships are not emotional partnerships. They are transactions. They give just enough to keep you close, to maintain the illusion, and to preserve their source of admiration. But when the excitement fades or attention shifts, they begin searching for new ways to feed their ego. It's not unusual for them to flirt with others, seek attention outside the relationship, or purposely create jealousy just to stir emotional chaos. Because for them, anything that makes them the center of attention feels like power, and that's what they crave most. So while you long for closeness, warmth, and genuine connection, the narcissist is not built for that. They don't want to be known. They want to be admired. The more you try to reach their real self, the further they retreat, because true intimacy requires honesty. And that's a mask they're terrified to take off. Withholding affection is one of the narcissist's quietest yet most powerful weapons. It's not always obvious or dramatic. Sometimes it hides in silence, in distance, in the cold shoulder that fills the room with tension. It's the sudden shift from warmth to ice without any explanation, leaving you dizzy, wondering what you did wrong. This isn't passive behavior. It's deliberate. When a narcissist withholds affection, it's rarely because they've stopped caring. It's because they want to unsettle you. They know how much you crave closeness, and by taking it away, they gain control. At the beginning, they may have showered you with affection. Every word, every touch, every gesture made you feel chosen, seen, adored. But once they know you're emotionally invested, they start to pull away. Compliments become rare. Intimacy feels forced, and sometimes it disappears altogether. You might notice they stop initiating contact, avoid your eyes, or act distracted when you try to get close. When you ask what's wrong, they shrug it off with excuses. They're tired, stressed, or not in the mood. But over time, a pattern appears. Affection returns only when you meet their expectations. This cycle builds anxiety and dependency. One day you feel loved, the next invisible. You start linking their affection to your behavior. You replay conversations, analyze every word, every gesture, wondering what pushed them away. You might even apologize for things you didn't do just to earn back the warmth. That's exactly how they want it. You start walking on eggshells, trying harder and harder to win back what once came so easily. It gives them power and keeps you chasing. Sexual intimacy becomes another tool of control. They might use it to pull you back when they sense you slipping away or to remind you of their influence. But when they want to punish you or prove dominance, they withdraw it completely. Suddenly, they're too tired, too busy, or uninterested. They know that denying touch can wound just as deeply as harsh words. They turn their body into a weapon, something to withhold, to manipulate, to make you question your worth. What makes this even more painful is their refusal to acknowledge it. They act as if nothing's changed. When you bring it up, they call you needy or insecure. This gaslighting leaves you doubting your own perception. You start to wonder if maybe you are being unreasonable, if maybe your need for connection is too much. Eventually, you learn to silence your needs just to avoid conflict. And that silence gives them full control. They dictate when closeness happens, when affection returns, when peace exists. After a while, the relationship feels empty. You exist in a kind of emotional winter, always trying to stay warm from memories that have long gone cold. The same person who once made you feel seen now makes you feel invisible. Yet you hold on, hoping the warmth will come back. The quiet withdrawal of affection becomes a form of control so subtle, so slow that by the time you realize what's happening, you're already trapped in a pattern designed to keep you uncertain and emotionally dependent. Jealousy is another emotion they use masterfully. In healthy relationships, jealousy comes and goes. It's human. But with a narcissist, jealousy is not accidental or a sign of care. It's strategic. They intentionally create situations that make you feel insecure, undesirable, or replaceable. They do it to keep you anxious, striving, and always reaching for their approval. Because when you're doubting yourself, you're not questioning them. And when you're desperate for their attention, they know they have control. At first, they might make you feel like the only person who matters. But soon, you notice small shifts. They bring up an ex more than once. They talk about a friend from work in a way that makes you uncomfortable. They might even flirt in front of you or compliment someone else's looks or charm while you stand there. It feels intentional because it is. Narcissists love watching the effect. Your unease, your hurt, your jealousy. It proves you care. It feeds their ego. When you confront them, they play innocent. They'll tell you that you're imagining things, that you're being dramatic or overly sensitive. They might laugh, roll their eyes, or act offended that you'd even question them. This is gaslighting in action. You feel something's wrong, but they convince you otherwise. You start wondering if maybe it is all in your head. Maybe you're overreacting. Maybe you're the jealous one. As your confidence starts to fade, their behavior escalates. They create more opportunities for jealousy, small comments, lingering glances, suggestive stories about people who find them attractive. It's always subtle enough to deny, but obvious enough to hurt. And when you finally react, they turn it back on you. Why are you so jealous? Don't you trust me? You're imagining things again. Your pain becomes proof of your instability. And instead of holding them accountable, you end up apologizing for feeling hurt. That's the trap. You begin to feel ashamed for your emotions. You start walking on emotional tiptoes, trying to be calm, cool, and agreeable just to avoid conflict. You want to seem confident, not clingy. Belief, you want to show that you trust them even when your instincts scream otherwise. Meanwhile, they grow bolder. They know you won't leave. They know you'll keep trying to win their approval. This isn't about attraction to someone else. It's about power over you. The narcissist doesn't necessarily want that other person. What they want is to make you feel replaceable, to remind you that they could leave at any time. That fear keeps you on edge, keeps you chasing the version of them that once made you feel secure. So when they give you a crumb of attention or affection, it feels like a victory, like you've earned it. That cycle where you're starving for connection and they hold the key is what keeps you trapped. Belief, you start losing yourself, molding your behavior to their moods, comparing yourself to others, and constantly wondering what you did wrong. You feel anxious in their presence, but even more anxious without them. It's like emotional gravity. You keep getting pulled back no matter how much it hurts. And that's the cruelest part. Narcissists don't just control you with grand gestures or manipulation. They do it through subtle emotional conditioning, through silence, through jealousy, through the careful withdrawal of love. You end up loving someone who makes you feel small, invisible, and desperate for approval. But that isn't love. It's dependency built on control, confusion, and fear.